All right, everyone, a few liberals actually understand what's going on. Yes, I'm happy to report there are signs of life on this planet after all. DOGE, we've got to talk about that, Department of Government Efficiency. This is two things at the same time, and this, link in the description archived, of course, sort of gets it, actually. I know what Trump is doing, and it's absolutely hysterical, and I think that he and Elon and certain others, Ramaswamy definitely part of this, thought this up because they realized that it was a win-win situation. The concept of increasing government efficiency is wildly popular. Nobody really wants to pay more taxes, including the liberals that want you to pay more taxes. But they don't want to pay those more taxes themselves, now do they? So everyone wants to find some waste and abuse and fraud in the government and cut it out. It doesn't matter exactly how much you cut as long as it's ironically efficient enough that the cuts are worth more than the effort that you put into them. It's wildly popular. This article makes the statement that effectively the left is walking into a trap because of the fact that it was proposed by Donald Trump and by people associated with him. The idea is that the liberals will come out against the idea of having such a department, which isn't a real department within the government, but, you know, it's a quasi sort of government thing. The idea is that they're going to fuck themselves because people will see the liberals arguing against efficiency. I concur. I believe that that is the ultimate plan. But it doesn't matter even if that is an unsuccessful attempt to rebuff DOGE, because you're still going to end up making those cuts and increasing efficiency. Basically, Trump has set himself up, and again, he's not the only one that was involved in this particular ploy. He set himself up for a win-win because either you cut waste and fraud and things like that, that will endear you to the population, and it's a good idea. Pretty much everyone agrees with that. Or you're unsuccessful at doing so and can say, look, you know, we were trying to cut waste and fraud and stuff. I delivered for Republicans on a promise that they've been making for literally decades, and they stonewalled me. Or I tried to follow through with this promise that everyone agrees is a good idea, but the liberals decided to stonewall me. So win-win. Effectively, Trump has set up another Trump trap. He's done this before. There are situations in which there is no possibility that your opponent is capable of winning. About the only thing they can do is shriek about Elon Musk being evil or something like that. Oh my God, a billionaire bought an election. Donald Trump, Nazi. But they've been doing that this entire fucking goddamn time for years and years and years. So there's the other lose. You know, the third lose is you whine about it, you realize that you can't possibly win, but it doesn't matter anyway. I think that the idea of a Department of Government Efficiency overall is a good one. Now keep in mind that some of that spending is mandatory. This has been pointed out by liberal commentators, by the way. A lot of the spending that you could potentially sort through is effectively mandatory. That's why you pressure Congress to make it non-mandatory. That's exactly what you need to do. And the Trump administration does appear to be angling to do so. A lot of the rest, more of the discretionary stuff, is military in nature. Trump, I think, is going to divert some of that to the border because he doesn't really need that much of it when you really think about it. I mean, the cost of a border wall apparently is dirt cheap compared to half of the other things that the government invests in. So I think he'll be successful, by the way, at that endeavor as well. If he has one major success in his second term, it'll probably be border control. That and diplomacy. I think those will be the two big ones. Extending the tax cuts is a victory, and it's definitely helpful to people like me that are self-employed. But he's not going to get much, airtime over it because the tax cuts were already there and can be dismantled later by a liberal administration. But at the very least, one particular outlet kind of gets it, why Doge was set up in the first place. Another element of it is absurdism. Have you ever heard of Jello Biafra, famous punk rocker from the Dead Kennedys? And he ran at one point. I think he was running for mayor of Portland or something like that. It was an absurdist campaign. One of his ideas was legalizing squatting in derelict buildings and stuff like that. You know, the typically far leftist platform, although, as far as leftoids go, Biafra at the very least is sane and not a complete sellout, so I can give him begrudging credit where begrudging credit is due. Absurdism is the idea that you're putting forth an idea and it may or may not even take hold, but the fact that you're the one that's uttering it makes it sort of an issue. That's sort of what Doge is. Imagine having an extra governmental group run by fucking Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy in order to go through line by line into government budgeting and suggest cuts. It's absurdism, but that's how it passes the sniff test. It's sort of like they activated stealth mode on the spacecraft. Elon will be building one of those anytime, by the way, now as well. What you do is you get it sort of, there's no real way to attack it, in other words. Because it's absurdist, people assume that it's a joke. It's actually a really, really good idea. It's also a really, really popular idea. But your enemies can't really attack the idea like they would normally do with literally any policy that you put forward because of the fact that it's effectively absurdism. Because it sounds like it's funny. Doge, literally named after a fucking dog and tied into crypto and things like that. It works. They've scrambled the minds of some of the liberals. I'm surprised that there is even one article that I could find where they kind of understand what's exactly going on. In the end, what do I expect for Doge? I expect that Musk, Ramaswamy, other people associated with them, will go through the government budget. And what you're going to end up getting, I think, this is just my own theory, what you're going to get is, how at the end of the year, when Fox News usually rambles about, some weird government program where they paid $5 million to study the life cycle of the cicada or something like that. I have a feeling that you're going to get a laundry list of instances of those. And that the whole purpose of it, I almost said porpoise, by the way, that's also absurdism. The whole purpose of it is to expose it to the public, to make the public more knowledgeable about where their money is going. And you're going to find that while a lot of that spending is completely mandatory, a lot of it is completely wasteful. It's highly inefficient. Much of it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. And that includes, by the way, some of our defense spending. You remember that story? It was only a few weeks ago. I think, didn't the Department of Defense sue some company for overcharging them 1,000% markup on toilets or something like that, or screwdrivers? And this happens all the time. It happens right under people's noses, and that's the reason why they've got Doge. What they're trying to do is make people more knowledgeable about the fact that that's happening. Because right now it's been rendered nothing more than a partisan issue. But if you take Elon Musk's money and Ramaswamy's tech savvy, and you really mass deploy that knowledge, it can actually be meaningful. People, therefore, will call for cuts, they'll call for more efficiency, and then the absurdism, as it originally was, is no longer absurd at all. All of a sudden, the public cries out in pain and anguish, realizing that billions of their dollars are being used for bullshit. And then they demand that the government do something. Trump may be able to back down congressional Republicans that are already angling to stonewall him, and the liberals at the same time, simply because nobody politically will dare to stand in his way. And if he can only manage a few tens of billions in cuts, at the very least, cuts were made. That's what I think is probably happening here. And I congratulate them on their epic chess move because it's basically a fucking checkmate. That's about all. Peace out.